Welcome to Domestic Dish. Domestic Dish is a podcast where we speak with private service professionals and learn their stories, albeit in a discreet way, which is as it should be. So today we're doing something a little different. We're going to be speaking with Heather Lafontaine, who is a Reiki Master as well as a certified Breathwork Facilitator. And if you're not sure what those things are, Heather's here to explain all about it, as well as what her path towards those fields looked like. Heather's also owner of the Key Room, where she practices both Reiki as well as breathwork facilitating. So please join me in welcoming Heather to Domestic Dish. Heather? Heather, let's start to dish.
All right, let's go.
Yeah, let's go. So I thought a logical place would be, let's start with, what Reiki is, what breathwork facilitating is, and what your path towards those two things actually look like, and how did you get there? And
Okay.
I also want to learn all about the Key Room, but we'll get to that.
Yeah. Okay, there's a lot of questions there.
There are, I know.
Reiki is an ancient Japanese healing modality, been around for thousands of years. And all Reiki is if we separate the word Reiki, Reiki is life force energy. So Reiki, universal life force energy. And
So is that, sorry to interrupt, is that an actual translation from the Japanese? Oh, interesting. Okay.
yeah. And it's essentially it's energy healing. And I use the word healing very carefully because I don't want people to think I heal them. There's no such thing as healing people. What Reiki is doing is allowing you to actually heal yourself. So our bodies are very intelligent, and all I'm doing is in Reiki we call it we are the hollow bone. So we're like the conduit, right? We've been attuned to Reiki, and so we're allowing Reiki to. It's so interesting because Reiki just came in. I know sounds so woo-woo, but when Reiki comes into me, it comes through my head. Anyways, it just came
We're
through
going
my
to be
head.
talking about woo-woo. Just
Okay, I love it. I love woo-woo. So we are the hollow bone. We're the conduit. Think of it like a pipeline or a straw. And Reiki comes in through the straw, through the pipe, into the client, and back and forth, right? So as long as the client's there and open to it, they're receiving Reiki. So again, I don't heal you. The whole idea behind Reiki is to completely relax people, to calm that parasympathetic nerve so the body can start to heal itself naturally.
And so that healing
Forget
process.
your other questions.
Oh, we'll get to that.
Okay.
I'll try to remember.
Okay.
So, I mean, if I'm understanding what it is that you're saying, because it's very different. We go to Western doctors to be healed. They're the ones who, there's surgery or there's medication, and the intent is to heal you. So that's the objective. And so what you're saying is somewhat different. I mean, so you're describing yourself as a conduit towards healing, but the person that you're working with, it's almost, I mean, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's almost like you're providing the tools for them to do their own healing. Would that be accurate?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
I'm not saying there is a place for Western and Eastern medicine, but to beautifully heal would be to work those two in tandem together. You're not going to refuse the cast if your leg is broken. But a lot of sickness and illness is things that are stored in our bodies. There's something that we say in Reiki, your issues are in your tissues. So we store things as human beings. And they can manifest themselves physically in our bodies. And I know that sounds crazy, but there's science behind it. Um, Harvard did tons of studies on it. I don't have those studies with me, but
You don't have them ready to go?
yeah,
We
yeah,
can post them.
yeah. But so yeah, does that kind of answer your question?
I think so. I mean,
Yeah,
I do like to believe that there's a place for both Western and Eastern medicine because they're very different traditions. And, I think of it in, and I'm probably misusing the term, but I'll use it in lowercase as opposed to uppercase. It's a holistic approach to health.
absolutely.
In that you're not eliminating one field. I can think of a number of people in my life who Western approaches to healing just didn't work. And so, and often it seems to me, and I don't know if this would be the case with the people that you work with. Maybe their stories mirror this, but they've tried Western approaches to healing, it didn't work, and they're looking for something else, and perhaps that's their entry into Reiki. And then we're going to talk about breath work because I'm
Yeah,
fascinated by that.
yeah.
But would that be the case that, people, as opposed to just, immediately diving into Reiki, that, they've tried other things, it hasn't worked, and then they're open to other approaches?
Yeah, that would be it. I mean, again, I'm not I'm by no means saying, "Oh, forget your doctor or what he's guiding you to say." Definitely not. I just, this is just such a powerful healing modality that I feel like I want to reach as many people as I possibly can with this. And it's interesting because, in the US, Reiki is actually covered in the US on insurance.
Interesting.
And in Canada, we're kind of behind the times a little bit and we're not covering it, which is a real shame. Actually, I think there are some provinces that it will be covered under insurance. And I should know that, but I don't. Um,
Maybe you need to move to those provinces.
yeah, or just like open it up. Like I'd love to be able to, that's a whole other topic, to be able to bring this into Canada. Like, let's get going. Like, if
Yeah.
something's wrong, personally, if something was wrong with me, if I was diagnosed with something, I would do absolutely anything I could to heal myself. So that means traveling to wherever I need it to go, seeing whatever doctor I need to see, and then dealing with it on a holistic level as well. I
Mhm.
mean, why wouldn't you, right? Um, because again, they can work in tandem together beautifully.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Um,
but yeah, you're correct. Yeah.
Do you think Western doctors, general practitioners, are now, I mean, because there used to be so much resistance to anything holistic, to anything that, didn't fall under that, category of Western medicine. Do you think that doctors today are opening themselves up to alternatives and recognizing that maybe we don't have all of the answers?
I think there are some doctors out there that believe that. Just like there are some people out there that believe that and some that don't.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
Let them, like Mel Robbins says, let them. What are you going to do? But again, if you look up the science behind it, I love the science behind it because then, if anyone's doubtful, you have the science to back it up. Like here it is, you
Yeah.
know. Um, so yeah, I think there are certain doctors that are open to it, and as time goes on, I think there's more doctors that are open to it.
Yeah.
Um, and also, it's about your intention. Like, if you walk into a doctor's office and you're like, you know, let's just say the C word, cancer word,
Yeah. Yeah.
oh my God, I have cancer. It's over.
Mm.
I'm just ready to die.
Yeah.
Well, okay, that's not a great way to enter into this illness. This is
Right.
awful. You've been diagnosed with cancer. What can we do? Okay, so Western medicine says we're going to do all this. Eastern medicine says, but I can help you here. I can
Hmm.
help you dive into things that, you've buried for so long, and we can just open up channels in your body. And the body's very intelligent, right? It can
Yeah.
start to heal itself.
I mean, this conversation raises two thoughts. So, one of the things that you touched on earlier is that our bodies hold on to, I mean, I'm rephrasing it, but toxicity. And so it is a bit of a mind body thing. Again, always correct me if I'm wrong because
No, you're
really,
bang on. You're bang
okay.
on. You're doing,
I'm
yeah.
trying to listen. I'm trying to learn. And so that's really interesting to me because I kind of believe that. I mean, I think that, you know, mental trauma, you do feel it in your body. I mean, I think many of us can, attest to an instance in their life or multiple instances in their life where, they were maybe struggling with something, whether it be trauma or an incident at work or, something. And the body reacts to that with an illness.
Absolutely.
So again, just going back and understanding, how and why Reiki would be important to people. I mean, that would be, one of the areas, the entry areas where, someone might, approach you for, your, for you to be a conduit towards their own health.
Right. No, you're bang on. But Reiki's not only for someone that's, I think we all have trauma in our lives.
We
Like,
do.
I don't think there's a human being walking the earth today that didn't have trauma at some point in their lives or deals with trauma on a daily basis. But it's not just for illness. It's not just for trauma-based things. Reiki, I always explain it when someone comes to me. Reiki's like a massage, you know?
Ah,
So just like relax, bring it in, whatever comes to you, just process that, sort of look at it. Okay, where are you feeling it in your body? What's going on? Are you seeing visions, colors? Um,
and
you know,
do people experience that? Do they experience visions? Do they see colors
they
as you're
do.
working with them?
They
And so,
do.
which leads me to my next question. As they're leaving the key room, what is it that you think they're feeling? What is it? I mean, do you sense, do you detect a difference? You do.
Yes. Yes.
Interesting.
Um, Generally, most people, I wouldn't say generally, I would say basically everyone I've ever worked on leaves extremely relaxed.
Mm.
Like, just things are, they feel like they're in line. Um, and everyone knows about acupuncture, right? Chinese medicine, acupuncture. Acupuncture is like clearing all your meridians, it's settling all your meridians. Japanese, it's your chakras. So it's kind of the same thing. So in Reiki, we're aligning the chakras. Chinese medicine, they're aligning your meridians. It's the same thing.
Mm.
People feel when they leave just um, extremely relaxed when the body can get to that state, everything slows down, everything gets simplified. And when the body's in that relaxed, calm state, it starts to heal itself.
Hmm.
It's as simple as that.
This is going to be my entry point into breath work,
Hey,
because it's somewhat connected to exactly what you just said. But I have this very vivid memory, and it's been a while since I've done meditation, and I really need to get back to it. And I used to avoid group meditation. I thought, oh my God, groups! I don't want to be around other people doing this. But it was amazing, and I was fortunate enough to work with a guide who, brought us, through a process of, I think it was 12 sessions where, building block by building block, we came to understand, meditation and the practice of it. I remember one instance, and I would go to two sessions a week. One was in the evening, one was during the day, and it was the evening one where we were practicing loving kindness. And I remember, and we also, this is again, mixing things up because this guide used to incorporate qigong into her practice. And I loved it. And I remember one night leaving, it was at a community center, and I remember leaving the community center, and it was a very cold night, and as Canadians, we know the different kinds of snow that we see, and because it was so cold, it was snowing, but it was magical. I was feeling that sense of relaxation that you were talking about, and everything slowed down as I was walking. I just left the building and was observing, snow that looked like crystals falling from the sky. It was beautiful. And
Did you have a sense of clarity?
I don't know. I guess there was clarity in the sense that I was in that moment,
Yeah.
and that's what mattered. It wasn't, maybe the conflict of the day or my concerns about tomorrow. It was that I was experiencing the beauty of what I was witnessing as I was leaving that building, and I do attribute that to that practice of meditation as well as the qigong. That helped me. So I do understand what you're saying. I want to pursue one thing because I think because we talked about the C word, right? It happens. We're human beings. We're born. We live. We die. It is part of our cycle, and so end of life. I think is an area where thankfully, people over the last 10 years have been exploring, and there's all sorts of, I think, um, practitioners in different fields bringing different sort of knowledge bases to help people, in end of life situations.
Mhm.
Does Reiki have an application there, do you think?
An application for if you're entering end of life?
Yeah, and
Sure.
I guess helping to ease the path towards death.
Sure, absolutely. I mean,
Really?
I've never worked with anyone that's entering that stage. Um, it would be a beautiful thing to be able to do that for someone. Like, I
Yeah,
would feel so honored to be a part of that.
yeah.
And Reiki would definitely help with that.
I like that you use the word honor,
Yeah,
because I do think that, someone who is experiencing end of life, uh, and if they invite you into that, I guess it sounds very crass, but a process, for lack of a better word right now.
yeah.
Um, I do believe that there's honor in that. I do believe that, that's been my experience, with a friend, who's dying, and,
Mhm,
they do want me there with them.
mhm,
And I
mhm,
felt very honored. It was painful, but
mhm,
I felt honored to be invited into this thing that happens, in using Western notions of death, one
mhm.
time as opposed to multiple. But yeah, no. So there is an application, and so are there practitioners out there who may, because there's such a need, focus on that if someone was open to it.
You know what? That's a great question. I don't know if they specialize in that. Um, Personally, I don't. my Reiki is for anyone and everyone. And that's not just for the humans walking the earth, it's for our
Yes.
animals.
I,
Um,
yeah,
yeah, animals are like, that's huge. That's
it
like,
is.
because
Yeah.
they have there's no ego involved. There's no judgment. They let go very easily. Yeah. So yeah, animals are a completely different session. It's actually like mind blowing. But yeah, I don't know of any Reiki masters that do that. I'm sure there are for that moment in life where you're going on to the next stage. Um, but I think for me, yeah, I would be honored, and it would be about, for me, just holding space for that person and making them feel safe in this moment. Um, Removing my ego completely, removing any outcome, just, which we should always do,
Yeah.
but sometimes it's tough to remove your ego and outcome.
Yeah.
But it's a practice, and you try and do that with or you should do that with every session. And yeah, so I don't know if there are Reiki masters that do that specifically.
I mean, I guess, sorry, I hate to dwell on this,
Mhm.
and maybe it's very morbid of me to do it,
Part of
um,
life,
but
though.
I'll run with it.
Yeah,
And so, I mean, in my mind, and in terms of my experience, I mean, end of life is almost about, you know, I had the words before. I have new words now, but I don't like them as much. So I guess it's about, letting go. And, I mean, and often I think that's where, when, people, surrounding the person who is in an end of life situation, you know, talk to them. And, I mean, it could be, sharing forgiveness. Maybe they had a difficult relationship, and it's an opportunity to do that. And it helps, I think, maybe the person, let go a bit
like,
of.
I think, can I interrupt? Because I think you're let go. I think that's like the transition, right? It's transitioning to that next part. And how can we make this transition as gentle as possible?
Mm,
Um, you know, Letting go of what is no longer serving them, surrendering whatever to make it sort of a beautiful transition.
it can be.
I
I
think
mean,
you can too. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I mean, again, Western society, Eastern, very different in terms of, their attitudes towards end of life. And I think,
Sure.
Western society really has difficulty coping with it. And, I think it's a battle. And, it needn't be. It can be something beautiful.
Mm.
And particularly, I think, it's an opportunity for sharing. We're getting a bit off track,
Okay.
but
Okay. Yeah.
hopefully it was off track in an interesting way. So I
Yeah.
want to pivot back to being a breathwork facilitator and what that is.
Okay. So,
I'm putting you on the spot.
no, not at all, because there's like so much I want to say about breath work. It's such a powerful modality too. Um, when I opened up the key room and started doing Reiki on my clients, there was like this. I felt like I felt like we always started with breath, right? Just calming things down. We worked on box breath, which is kind of basic breath, right? Most everyone knows it. Real easy to do. Navy SEALs do it every day.
Hmm.
Um,
Do they really?
yeah, they do. They
Interesting.
do. Yeah.
There, I
Reading
mean,
about what
there's
they
a good
go through.
example of that crossover.
Yeah. Well, again, I just feel like you see they like all these little modalities that are being used, but yet are not fully recognized and not fully trusted as healing modalities, and they should be.
I just think of Navy SEALs as these like supermen who
Yeah,
don't
they
need
are.
much because they're out there to solve problems and get things done, and they're tough.
Yeah.
Um,
But
but
not
I
only
guess,
physically, it's the mental thing for them, right?
yeah,
And that's where the breath work comes in too, right? So anyways, well, like with doing Reiki with clients, I felt like I was always interested in breath work. I meditate, I do, some breath work, but I wasn't trained in, you know, breath work. I wanted to get that certification. So I entered into this company called Elemental Rhythm, who I just jived with. And it was really funny because as I was researching it, and there's a million breathwork places to get your certification. And I ran into it online and I'm like, okay, cool. I kind of like this. And then at around that same time, my boyfriend said to me, come do this like guided meditation with me with breathing and a cold plunge. And I'm like,
a cold
and
plunge.
like, yeah, and I'm not like a huge cold plunge person. I'll
I
do it, but I'm
gotta hate.
like, oh my God, and there's a million people, and I gotta wear a bathing suit in front of people. And like, again, my ego's getting in the way. And I'm like,
Hmm.
okay, fine, I'll do it. And when we got there, lo and behold, the person facilitating the breath work and the guided meditation was the founder of Elemental Rhythm. And I thought, oh my God, like that's a sign. I believe in the universe. So I think like the universe kind of always like guides me on my path. So I'm thinking, okay, fine, I get it. I'll dive into this elemental rhythm breath work. And it was huge. It was like beyond my expectations. Um, um, and with elemental, oh gosh, where do I go? Sorry, a lot of ums here.
No worries, no worries. Trust
You
me, I'm the biggest ummer and ahher out there.
you go through there's certain experiences you can do. You can do a flow experience, which is very powerful. And there's these breakthrough experiences where you go through 5 rounds of breathing. And it's elemental rhythm. So you're using all the elements: earth breath, water breath, air breath, buzz breath, fire breath.
Oh my God,
And
the boss.
it's work.
Yeah.
It's I was not prepared for the work involved doing these 5 sessions because it's consecutive, right? And so, as you're doing all the breath work, things are happening obviously in your body, right? Like
Mm.
it's always diaphragm breathing, so you're bringing in air into your belly, your diaphragm's lowering, and then that's creating more air to come into your lungs, which is better blood flow for the body and better oxygen exchange in the body. But then things are happening, and things are happening mentally too, because it's a
Mm.
lot of work.
Mm.
And there's so many things that happen to your body just physically going through it. And we warn people. Well, I shouldn't call it a warning. We just tell them what could happen and to not be alarmed and just stick with the breath. Like try and stick with the breath because that's where you're going to see breakthroughs.
Right.
Um,
Remind
yeah,
me, if I forget, remind me to ask about what I would call blowback,
low back. Okay.
and related to being a breathwork facilitator, and exactly what you just said, which is to warn people, in quotation,
Absolutely.
because
Like
I
there
think
are
it's
people that
very
shouldn't
interesting.
do breath work. Like
Interesting.
pregnant women shouldn't do
So
it.
who shouldn't?
Yeah, pregnant women shouldn't do it. People with epilepsy. I have a
Right.
girlfriend. She was born with one lung. She should definitely not do this. I mean, we can adapt it to people, but obviously it's a completely safe practice. And on the other hand, you know, without getting into specifics, it's definitely a liability issue. You don't want someone with, um, going through any sort of lung problem
Mm,
or heart condition
mm.
or, you know, and I would be very leery to take on certain people. Like
Okay.
I would want you to be healthy. And if you weren't, I would want a doctor's note.
So this is interesting, and it's going to bring me to the key room, which is, as people come, you know, into the key room,
Mhm.
and I like that it's a room, and I want to know a little bit about how the name of your business came about. But, as people sort of, enter the key room, do you go through a process of, I don't want to say qualifying, but evaluating, the individual prior to, conducting the practice?
So Reiki, comparatively to breath work, Reiki is so non-intrusive, and it's such a gentle healing modality
Mm,
that just about anyone can come. Like it's never going to harm. I can guarantee it. It is never going to harm.
mm,
You might feel nothing,
mm.
and that's okay too. Something
Yeah,
might come up 24 hours later for you.
right.
So I think the two modalities are very different. And I
Mm,
so I don't, in answer to your question, I don't really limit who comes into the Reiki room.
mm. So, key room,
Key
how'd the title come about?
room. I struggled so much.
It's not easy.
No, it's not. I was like, okay, never opened up my own business. I want some catchy, cool name. And I'm researching and researching for days, weeks. Anyways, I finally said, screw it. I'm just not going to think about this anymore.
That's a
It'll
perfect Reiki word.
What's that?
Yeah, I said that's a perfect Reiki word.
Yeah,
Screw
screw
it.
it. So I decided just to just let it go. It'll come to me when it's supposed to come to me. And I remember going on a walk one day, and again, just out in nature and grounding myself and everything like that. And key, key, right? Energy, key.
Key,
It's the
right.
energy room, the key room.
Hmm. Is key, so which brings me sorry, it just like, I mean, this is the way my brain works. So key, I mean, is that somehow related to chi gong?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I mean, again, can you define for us, the meaning of key?
So ki is life force energy in Reiki, but ki is, you're right. Ki is chi. Ki is prana. Yeah, it is all of that.
Okay.
So just in Reiki, it's defined as life force energy.
Okay.
Universal life force energy is Reiki.
So that's the genesis of key room.
Yeah, but I struggled. I struggled, and as soon as it came, I was like, oh. Like, I
Bingo.
love this. Why didn't
Yeah.
I think about this before? It's so simple.
the
Oh,
test the test ultimately is, I think, the key room has been open for a little while now. So how long has the key room been open?
let's see.
And I am thinking about it as a room.
It
For
is a
me,
room.
it is a room. Okay.
Yeah, and it's funny. It's out of my home. Excuse me. And it's funny because anyone that walks into my home, they see it right away. And if they walk into the room, they're like, "What's going on in this room? It's so beautiful. It's so like, what's going on?" And it's just all the energy, and it's amplified in there.
Mm.
I have a gazillion crystals in there. Again, that's a whole other thing because crystals like bring energy in, right?
Do they
They
also retain it?
vibrate.
I
They have a
mean,
frequency.
and so do they retain it? Do they draw energy from people? And so I guess, I mean, what prompts that sort of thought is when you say that when people walk into the room, they feel something.
Mhm.
And so I guess, what I'm sort of aiming for is, in that room, there's residual energy.
There is, but before someone comes, it's really important as a practitioner to clear yourself, clear your space. I know, I'll explain clearing in a second.
Yeah.
Clear your space. And then when the person walks in the door, well, actually, even before they walk in the door, I'm sending them Reiki, okay? Because you can send Reiki through time and space.
Okay.
So I'm sending them Reiki. They come to the door. I clear them. And then laying on the table, clear them again. After they leave, it's the same thing. You do it backwards. You clear the room, you clear yourself, and you clear the room, and that's it. So clearing is,
okay.
Sorry.
I don't mean to interrupt. Please.
Oh, no. Clearing is just, I use sage. I burn sage, and I just clear the room, clear myself. Every day I do self Reiki on myself. And there's also symbols that Reiki masters are attuned to that help clear space, can amplify energy. I spoke about sending Reiki. There's symbols to send Reiki through time and space. So there's a whole lot of stuff there.
I wanted to visit this concept of blowback because we did touch on, people that you wouldn't do breath work with. And so it seemed to be individuals with underlying health issues where, they may be placed at risk. Is there, in terms of breath work, and this is Bert interrupting us. Hey, Bert.
Hi, Bert.
It's Heather. I'm doing my podcast with Heather.
Come on, come say hi to me.
You might as well come say hi. This is he's looking for his phone.
Okay.
Well, maybe you need to call it. No,
help you.
it's like I have to find his phone. That's what I wanted to, I guess, explore is whether breath work, if you're working with someone, has the potential to raise, issues of, trauma or pain, like psychic pain. Because I remember being told, many years ago by, a meditation, guide about the dangers of blowback, specifically in loving kindness meditation. And it happened. It happens. And so does that happen in your practice?
In breathwork practice?
Yeah,
for sure.
Really?
Sure. Yeah. But that's kind of the whole idea, right? Is to bring up these things that are stored so deeply that sometimes we don't even know that they're there.
Right.
And again, we talked earlier about things that we store in the body that manifest itself physically. So this is where breath work can just help you, recognize those things, process them, and then, help you get through them and help you heal them. And when we bury things, they're buried and they just grow and grow and grow. And because we don't recognize them, or we don't sometimes we don't remember them, right? It could be things from our childhood.
Yeah.
Huge. And the breath work brings it up. Yeah. We're both giggling. Yeah, I know. Childhood. Oh, wow. Yeah. Let's go there. Let's not.
Let's not. Oh, here comes Bert.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Did you find your phone?
No, I don't know.
He's looking at you.
I mean, if you rang it, it's not in the apartment.
No, I know.
So
in your car, maybe?
That's my phone. Leave your hands off that. iPhone's
it's in your car.
Yeah, I think it might have fallen or something.
Ooh.
Anyway, nice to see you.
You too, Bert.
It sounds intense.
It's not. We're having fun.
No. It's
Yeah,
actually, I think it's really flowing nicely.
I think so too.
You're super good. It's
Pat
good.
yourself on the back. Pat yourself on the back. And this is exactly what I want it to be. I do want it to be this free flowing conversation, and I hear words, and it's like, oh, that makes me think of something, and hopefully the same with you.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I feel very comfortable. Bye, Bert. I feel very comfortable. Like you're making me feel comfortable.
Oh, thank you.
That's good. Yeah.
I guess. I gotta pat myself on the back.
Yeah.
Interviewing. Personally, I'd rather this role because it's more what I'm used to. But my objective always, like in professional interviews, is that I learn more from a person if they are in their comfort zone.
Sure.
And I do, this sort of to and fro kind of thing. And, if they're willing to share, a story about themselves that may not be related to the job, because I do want to get to know the person as a whole person, I'm willing to do the same.
Yeah.
And, if it's somewhat connected, so long as it's appropriate.
Yeah, for sure.
Boy, did we ever get off track. Thanks.
I know. I feel like there's so many tangents. It's going like,
It
but
is.
at the same time, I feel like it's okay.
It is okay, because I think, we're addressing, different things. And I think, we're talking about Reiki. We're talking about the history of it. And, it's, how Western medicine is kind of, trying maybe, in places to adjust.
Yeah.
And the key room and I love, the genesis of business names, because as you say, it's not an easy thing. And I used to walk around with just these cards. This was in the days before cell phones. And, these random thoughts would come to me and I would just write them down and put them in my backpack. And maybe I, never visit them again, or, visit them the day after or a few weeks after, or just rediscover them. And so, it was interesting that the idea came to you, rather holistically through a walk
In nature.
in nature. Yeah, it makes sense, doesn't it?
It does.
So, what would you say to the skeptics? Because you use the expression "woo woo." I've heard that from you before, and so they're out there.
Sure.
What might you say to them? Fine, be a skeptic, or might you make a case, for what it is that you do, or just let them be?
Yeah. All of the above. And you know, if someone is really set on, you know, you're Reiki Master. So like, are you a witch? Or are you, oh, I've gotten everything. And I'll just giggle and respond and say yes, just as a joke. But
Be
uh,
careful who you say that to.
yeah, but it's sort of one
There
of
are
those
people who will go back to Salem.
yeah, yeah, really. It's sort of one of those things that if someone is so set in their belief, it's not my place or my job to argue my case. And however, saying that, there have been instances where there's a skeptic, but they're still open. So there's skeptics that are closed, and then there's skeptics that are open, and they're right away they'll say to me, "Well, prove it." And I'm like, "Well, okay."
Yeah.
So I'll tell you a story. Every year I go to Montana. I go to this horse ranch, and we ride horses. It's a beautiful, beautiful 6-day trip that I do every year, and I just fills my cup.
I love horses.
Yeah. So explaining what I do to people, again, skeptics out there. And one of them was a young man that worked there. He was probably, I would say he's probably like 26, 27, real super young man, really sweet guy. Um, and he and I would talk, and he said to me, he goes, "What do you do again?" So I told him, and he goes, "What is that?" So I told him a little bit about what it was and what it would do. And he goes, "Well, I just, I want to believe it, but I just like, can you do something?" So I said, "Yeah, sure." So he was a bartender, and
Okay.
there was a whole bunch of people around. And I said, "Just put your hands on the bar." And, and then I put my hands over him, over his hands. And we just sat there quietly. And Reiki's coming in. And right away, usually what happens in sessions is sometimes I'll feel something in me, which translates to something going on in that person's body. So right away, I'm feeling my mouth and my jaw, and I'm like, oh, is it his teeth, or is he?
Hmm.
Is there something with his jaw? Or then you can also, it's almost like as a Reiki master, you have to play private detective, right? So you're like, okay, so what does that mean energetically? Is there something that he doesn't want to say? Does he need to open his mouth and speak his truth?
Hmm.
So I said to him, I said, and it was literally for probably 45 seconds. And and I said, "Is there something wrong with your teeth or your jaw, or is there something you want to say?" And right away he removed his hands and he went, "I don't like this." And he walked away.
Oh, oh,
So I hit something,
you
right?
hit something. Yeah.
He came to me later and he said, "How did you know?" And I said, "It's not about how I knew. It's Reiki's just going to go where Reiki needs to go. So it's not about me. I'm not a magician. I'm not a witch. It's just Reiki's telling me because I'm attuned to the energy." So he said to me, I got very uncomfortable because I had something in the bottom of my lip in here, because they all chew in Montana. But
Right.
he works there and he's not allowed to chew. So he said there were so many other people around, and I thought I got to move away from her because she's going to say something.
Right.
And so, anyways, it was something small, but so there is a little party trick that, right away he was like, okay, I believe.
So he went into self-protection mode.
Totally.
And so, I mean, what you said, I mean, was very interesting to me because, initially you described yourself as a conduit, and I immediately assumed, oh, it's one way. But no, you were feeling something in yourself, and so the conduit, I'm assuming, goes both ways.
Me personally, I kind of always feel it.
Okay.
And that's another reason why it's very important to cleanse yourself after sessions, right?
Mm,
Because you can hold on to things. There was an instance where a girl came to me and she came to the key room, and she had a concussion. So she
mm,
suffered from headaches, she wasn't sleeping properly, and it was way in the beginning in my practice, and I didn't clear myself after the session. Well, that night I had such severe headaches and I
mm,
couldn't figure it out. I contacted my Reiki master and I said, something's going on with me. I'm not sure what. And right away she said, did you clear yourself? And I went,
mhm,
oh, no, I didn't. And she said, Heather, you must always, always clear yourself,
mm.
because what you've done is basically her energy is just latched onto you. And that's all it is. So,
Interesting.
yeah, it's pretty interesting.
I mean, we talked about, your connection with horses, and I think that's something that we share. And so, I mean, I asked you to do an introduction. I didn't give the full introduction, but one of the things that you talk about in the introduction is Reiki and animals. Specifically, you mentioned dogs, but I think it probably, I mean, as you talk about, animals being, open, forgiving, and I mean, almost almost like ideal human beings. I mean,
Totally.
if we could align ourselves with,
Right?
I mean, those, those traits, I think we
Mhm.
would be a happier world. But tell me about the practice of Reiki with non-human animals.
Okay, so I've done Reiki on dogs. I've done it with horses. I am not um, trained in Reiki with horses. My Reiki master is trained with horses, um, but that doesn't mean you still can't just for your own purpose just go to a horse and actually receive Reiki from horses too. So I've done it on dogs, I've done it with horses, and dogs of course are dogs, they're so receptive to it. They'll usually lay down. The ears will go back in a relaxed position. They'll generally kiss you. um,
Oh,
a lot of things with animals is um, like a physical reaction. You see it a lot in horses. Horses are super receptive to it. Like there's
yeah.
actually horses out there who are Reiki masters themselves and they give Reiki to human beings. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but
I haven't, but it does make me think of, support animals.
yeah, yeah,
And I mean,
exactly.
I mean, in my heart, I mean, I absolutely believe in that.
Yeah,
And, I've experienced it. So, I mean, so I'm not surprised by that at all.
yeah. Well, when you
So
think about a horse too, you think about they can sense your energy right off the bat, right?
you're
They can
afraid of a
sense,
horse,
yeah, they can sense when you're off. They can sense when you're nervous, when you're in a place of fear, or if you're angry, or whatever the case may be. They pick up on that. Horses are just energetically, as far as I'm concerned, are the most powerful animal energetically. When you think about a herd of horses,
Hmm,
okay, so you've got like 20 horses and they're running together. Guess what they do? Their hearts start to match each other.
interesting.
Their heartbeat,
Really?
it is the same heartbeat in a
Wow.
herd. So a horse will pick up on your heart like 20 yards away and will react to that. And again, it's your energy, right?
I
Um,
think it's beautiful. I mean, I also believe that, I mean, again, we're somewhat off topic, but not really. That animals are, I mean, I grew up with a dog, but as an adult, I mean, it was always cats just because apartments, easier to have a cat, blah, blah, blah. And during, the difficult periods in my life, I can think of, two cats um, that we had separately. They were so in tune with
oh yeah,
what was happening with me. And I remember a particularly bad period where, basically I would just spend the day on the couch. And so, the day would start with the sunlight, and then, my husband would, get home, much later, and it would be dark. But my cat was with me during the entire day. Was by my side.
yeah,
And then when my husband walked in, it was like shift change. Now
yeah,
it's your job.
yeah,
I mean, and my cat would leave my side. Because I guess, I mean, they've done their work, so to speak. I mean, it's a kind of funny way of putting it,
yeah,
but I mean, I guess, I mean, what it's connected to is, when you say that there are horses that are Reiki masters, I mean, that doesn't sound woo woo to me. I mean, maybe to some it might, but not to me.
yeah.
It makes sense.
I have a question then for you. When you're going through that time and
No,
your
you don't
cat
have
is,
to ask the question.
I have to ask you a question. It's only fair. So, was your cat like laying on you? Was your cat purring?
Okay, so one of them was what I would call a tree frog. And she would cling to me on my chest,
Oh,
and I mean, and she had these beautiful emerald green eyes, and she would just look at me. I mean, for hours. And I mean, so obviously, she could feel my heart, she could hear feel my breathing, and was very observant to what was happening on my face. So that was one of them. The other one was not a sit on my chest cat, but she was a sit by my side cat. And in that moment in my life, um, that's all I needed.
yeah,
I needed that presence.
yeah,
And it was, I mean, not a security blanket.
yeah.
It was just comfort that I needed to hold on to
Right,
get me through the day.
right, right.
Yeah.
The reason I ask about the purring is
Hmm.
because
I'm
they're,
sure there was purring,
yeah.
but
So
yeah.
that's emitting their vibration.
Mm,
And um, you know, like Einstein said it, everything is energy. And that's just physics. That's what he
mhm,
said. Everything is energy and that is all. And he said, it's not philosophy, that is physics.
mhm,
And so when you think about animals and, you know, like especially cats, they emit like this vibration when they purr,
mm,
right? And what are we doing? We're picking up on that vibration.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
it's
it's very
beautiful.
incredibly comforting.
Yeah.
And I mean, animals are, I mean, they're remarkable.
Oh, they are.
When you talk about horses again, I know we have these
Yeah.
shared experiences there, and when you talk about the ears, I would always know when the horse was paying attention to me,
Yeah.
and but I think as an adult. I mean, while I might have felt it, I mean, I no longer ride horses, but I did as a young kid. And, what struck me, as I was getting older was how remarkable it is that this animal that is so powerful, that, could frankly do a lot of damage to a human being. If they're listening, and if you're open also to them, in a, I don't want to use the word friendly, but just open to them, that, I always thought, gosh, this incredibly powerful animal, and I'm, comparatively speaking, this very weak being physically, is listening to me and is prepared to, you know, follow through with maybe what I'd like to do with the horse.
Mhm.
Whether it be to canter or to go over a jump, or just ride through a trail, quietly. So I always thought that that was kind of special.
Yeah. I feel like with horses too, there needs to be like that level of mutual respect going on because, like you just said, they're like these huge, magnificent beasts that can
Mm,
basically just throw you off whenever they want.
yes, they can.
So it's a privilege for us. Yeah. It's a privilege and an honor for us to be able to get on their back and for them to support us and take us where we tell them to go, right? Mutual respect, but that also needs to be like earned, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, so many things with horses. I love them. Yeah, just
I mean, I guess, I mean, to sort of, tie everything together. I mean, obviously, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I mean, you can't do breath work with a dog or a cat, or maybe you can, I don't know.
Yeah, I
But
don't think you can.
but it is, I mean, I like the connection, with, the non-human animal world, and Reiki. I mean,
Yeah,
it sort of binds us,
yeah,
I think. And I wish, the world, looked at the non-human animal world in such a way. I think, again, I think it would make our planet a happier place.
I agree.
So this is where I would like to end.
Okay.
And so, but I want to end by asking you a question. And we just used the word happiness. So, what occurred this week to put a smile on your face to make you feel happy?
Oh boy. So many things. I would say first off, waking up one morning, and actually I'm just getting over a pretty bad cold.
Mm,
Well, it wasn't a cold, it was the flu. So waking up one day and just
mhm.
feeling healthy and being
Yeah,
grateful for that, being
yeah,
grateful for being able to put my feet on the ground and move my body. So
yeah,
something as simple as that makes me happy.
yeah.
You know, it's simple.
It's super simple. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, what made me happy?
Yeah.
Um,
I say that a lot.
I know. I, you know what? I always liked it. I don't do
Yeah.
it, but and when I am in guided practices, I mean, it is something I like. What made me happy is I think we had a very successful conversation.
Yeah, I really think it was good. You'll probably play it back and go, oof, like we got off so much off topic, but like
But it's okay. I mean,
it's sort
it
of
was
like our phone calls.
yeah, it was super organic, and I like that.
Yeah, me
I think that, I mean, all conversations, are organic. And I think, I mean, I don't want, this podcast to feel like we're on a highway headed east or west. I mean, I don't care. I mean, if
that's
we
cool.
want to get off that highway and just stop the car and go for a walk somewhere, happy to do it. And, I mean, just translate that to a conversation.
It's
Um,
funny you say that because I think I've listened to so many podcasts, and at the end, a lot of the hosts will say, wow, I did not expect it to go this way, but I'm so happy it did.
yeah,
Right?
yeah,
Like, I think I've heard that a million times from podcasts.
yeah.
So,
No, it's a great form of communication because there is, that to and fro, and I think it's a gentle invitation for others to, to listen, and maybe even though they're not, actively participating in it, that mentally they are,
yeah.
and hopefully connecting with, pieces of what we said, even if it wasn't connected with Reiki or breath work. I mean, hopefully, I mean, people walk away with, a little bit of, interest, in something that we touched on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
So I'll call you. I'll call you. I'm going to stop the podcast. So please, everyone, join me in thanking Heather for sharing what it is that she does. I think we've had a very interesting and constructive, and even an off-topic conversation that I think, in many respects, is on topic. Thank you, Heather.
Oh, thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay. Take care.